Yo, my guy actually interrupted my intro there. How's it going, everyone? This is Ketchup here, and you are watching a early access preview of Joe in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. When the game first came out, didn't really have a main that I was particularly excited for because I'm kind of selective over my characters, right? That's kind of on me. Mustard had Billy Kane, who is his favorite character that he used in KOF. Now, my two favorite characters in King of Fighters, especially 15 when I played it when it first came out a few years ago, was Joe and Benimaru. If either of those made their way into Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, I would have played them immediately. I had to wait a little bit as this character is just about to release, all things considered, and thanks to the generosity of SNK, who gave me this early preview, I've been able to have a little bit of a mess around. The big thing is, in this early build, you kind of have training mode and that's kind of it. So as someone who doesn't have this extensive Fatal Fury background, I've kind of used this opportunity just to sort of sit around in training and come up with, you know, some interesting stuff, see what's going on, have some fun with some combos and go over some of the moves. So today's video is essentially going to be a sit-down session where I'm going over this character in this game for the first time and kind of giving some of my, I suppose, early impressions, taken from someone that is not a Fatal Fury pro. However, shout outs to the MK boys, K-Top and H-Dope, both qualifying for the world finals of this game. I mean, come on, man. Come on, the twins, they get it done. Just not Mustard and I as twins. So, talking about the differences and the new stuff, I mean, like, aesthetically, obviously the character looks a little bit different. Man's wearing glasses now, which, as a 33-year-old mate, I can totally relate to that. But the legacy is seemingly completely retained, I think. You know, you've got the Hurricane Upper that you can still throw, so you've still got the projectile game, which was very much a huge part of how I would play him in King of Fighters 15. A lot of his other moves are still there, the uppercut, this one looking unbelievably cool, just because Fatal Fury tends to add quite a lot of new visual effects for some of those characters. You have access to your slash kick, the down back as well. All of these different versions that it's still Joe, very much so, but in this game some of them function a little bit differently. And of course, we have to talk about his yep. Yeah. I would just rinse this in KOF 15, so that's back. But let's talk about some of the new things that Joe is kind of able to do in this game with those basic moves. I think the first one, and a really big one personally, is that in his Fireball game, I used to get jumped in on all the time when I used to play this character. Especially if I did the versions that would fire more. Anything that would fire more projectiles, if I got hit by one jump, I was pretty much toast. Fatal Fury has the sort of feint mechanic, right? And this is huge for combos. You know, some characters are able to sort of feint buttons and press their button after it, and if you get it correct, you get combo links, and that's just a huge part of the game. But also using it defensively can be, like, helpful to you. And that's where it comes into play in this game. So if I'm throwing the heavy version of a fireball, it looks pretty negative, right? If someone jumps right as I do this, it's likely I'm just going to eat it. You can feint after the first hit and actually cancel it in this game. Which, if you're playing this keep away game, being able to feint that is a really, really big deal. But the feints extend beyond just projectiles. The flying kick, another move that if you use it on its own, it's not particularly bad on block. So if you do the light version of this, essentially, if you're trying to close in space or whatever, you're able to have a slightly safer advance. You are able to feint this as well. So you can try and close in space, but you don't actually have to dedicate to the entire move, which I think is so interesting for a character that really wants to get in and mix you up, in no short part thanks to a new move that I'm going to talk about in a bit. But being able to feint your move on the way in, even outside of combos, that's just going to be great for general mobility. Some of the changes to his down back kick, core circle back kick. This is an interesting move in that if you do the light version, he'll hit in front of you. And if you do the heavy version and you're close enough, he'll go behind. The Rev version of this move will always stay in front, right? So I think if you're doing stuff on block, mostly, you know, with feints, buttons, whatever else, and you throw out one of these, going in for the Rev version means you can just sort of go feint, you know, Rev to stay in front, and if you counter hit, you get all sorts of cool stuff. Like, I feel like that's going to be a really annoying element of the up-close game, at least early. I wonder on day one, when everyone's playing this character, how many people are going to get hit by just cross-up, or no cross up, or no cross up, or cross up. And it cannot cross up in the corner, so worth showing that one. So I feel like I absolutely have to talk about this new move, which is one of my favorite move names, Fearless Man. So the Fearless Man stance, the first thing, this state right here, where he's like, come on, armored. You can absorb a hit and do a variety of follow-ups. The follow-ups are all different, and they provide you with different things. You can grab from this as well. What I've immediately noticed is really possibly messed up about this is that you've got just complete mix-ups. Should you do the Rev version of this, you get even more easy access to those mix-ups, I suppose. So, for example, you've got this, which you can just get a button from, right? However, because you've done the Rev version, you can just straight up cancel into Rev attacks from those follow-ups. Now, that's just one of the follow-ups, right? Like this. If you do the low kick, which looks like it has a simple knockdown, right? If I do the Rev version of Fearless Man, you can Rev from that as well. Guess what you can also Rev from? The grab. So, immediately, Joe is going to get combo follow-ups to the mix-ups that he gets from Fearless Man, especially if you do the Rev version. Now, the Rev style of moves and being able to like feint and cancel out of a bunch of moves, that's where the combo game starts to really expand. And I guess, to finish things off with this video, I'm kind of just going to go over some really basic combo pathing that should hopefully get people started, because it's kind of helped me get my head around things as well. So when it comes to doing basic combos with Joe in this game, it's all tied to what Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is known for, right? Which is cancelling certain attacks to retain a launch but cancel them early, being able to cancel Rev moves into other Rev moves, like all of that is very much core to how Joe's going to obtain his damage. The first thing for your, I guess, meterless part of launches is that should you do his heavy uppercut, which is Dragon Punch input with heavy kick, regular version does a follow-up, you know, 2 hits. If you cancel, you can just get the single hit, and then from that point, you know, Rev moves, whatever it is that you want to do to follow up with. So that's going to be part 1, I suppose, of just getting that early launch up close. The light version of that is invincible, but cannot be cancelled. It has to be the heavy version. Everything else is tied to Rev into Rev. So the most immediate one is forward DP input with punch, which is his, as they always call it, machine gun punches. If you do the towards heavy follow-up, you will notice that he kind of leaves the ground and puts himself in this state. You can cancel that into various Rev moves. Like, for example, down back heavy, there's a bounce here, which, again, you can use to get certain combos. So if I were to just do something simple, yeah, I had a feeling that was too late because I put myself in overheat. That should be fine. Yeah, the combos are simple on a, you know, a layer 1 point of view, but they are extremely fun to do. So being able to just sort of hit confirm things, let's say you're going for the feint. If you time this correctly, you can actually get a 2-hit combo from the feint, but I'm going to just do the standing heavy just to keep things simple. This is a very early path, which I think works in general, you know, for a lot of people. If you're quick enough, you can get some of these, but, you know, my timing isn't completely 100% on account of it being a brand new sort of deal for me. But another confirm I find is that if you do the EX version of his uppercut, Joe goes for a little bit of forward movement and then does the launcher, and because of the cancel system, should you do it early enough, you can cancel that as well, but retain the forward movement that Joe does first. This helps on certain confirms, like if you're landing like his close heavy kick, for example, which is that, you can get a light punch if you're quick enough, and due to the fact that it moves forward, you can do that. Obviously not the heavy at the end, but being able to move forward and cancel out makes those slightly further away confirms easier, because you covered the distance with the special move that you can then cancel into. So from what I've seen, you know, and all the basic stuff that Joe's doing in Fatal Fury, so much of it is tied to confirming into either his machine gun punches. You can do the projectile into machine gun punches if you're quick enough. That's a bit easier for some people, possibly. All of that stuff is going to be there as well, should you be able to make it connect. But being able to do medium ender, launch, you know, whatever else, and then you can go in for whatever super enders you want. I'm sure he's got way bigger combos than this. But I kind of just wanted to show the basics of how you can kind of get started. And then once you understand how going into Rev works, should you go for the Fearless Man, which I genuinely think this is going to be such a big part of how the character's going to play because of the mix-ups and the fact that he's, you know, he's armored, right? He can absorb things. All of that combined with the starters he gains from Fearless Man is likely going to be where a lot of people are going to start things off. You know, how this character's going to end up in the meta, no idea. I guess we'll have to wait and see because, you know, Joe's not far away now. But overall, this was just a really basic introduction to one of my favorite KOF characters and someone I'd always had on my team when I used to play 15, and I'm really happy to see him in this game. You know, this is just, like I said at the beginning, it was either going to be, for me personally, I'd have been happy with him or Benimaru, and I'm happy that at least one of them has made it into the roster, because now, like my brother Mustard, I have a character that I already liked, that I can now get stuck in with, and I'm just going to play Joe for the remainder of this game from this point. So I want to give a huge thank you once again to SNK for providing me with this early access opportunity. If you get involved with the Fatal Fury Discord, there's tons of activities going on to celebrate the release of Joe. We have more competitive action, we have Evo France, I mean, you know, we have the World Championships for crying out loud, there's a lot going on. So check out all the socials for more information on that. I'll put some links in the description. I appreciate your time here, everybody. Thank you for joining Fatal Fury with me today. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. I couldn't resist.